Okay, hi guys. Good evening. Right, question one. Which of the following is least relevant to the simple economic order quantity model? Now, again, you would have been doing some revision on this. The economic order quantity, if you like, is the efficient amount of inventory that an organization should order based on certain, um, if you like, restrictions, so to speak. So it's thinking about the cost of holding the stock. So you have to think of the rentals for paying for the warehouse. You have to think of the cost of ordering the stock. So the administrative costs involved in ordering, all the paperwork, the postage, all of that, as well as, of course, you are thinking about the demand from your customers, right? Because the greater the demand, then the more stock you'll need to fulfill that demand, so to speak. So we do have a formula. We don't need to remember how we get there, but it's referred to as 2 cod and chips. And what does that mean? D is annual demand, C is the cost of holding the stock per unit, and CO is the cost of ordering the stock per unit. And so we have this EOQ to cod and chips. So looking at this, the question here is, this is which is the least relevant. Well, when we look at this equation, what is very relevant, we can see clearly is annual demand. We can see what the holding costs are, and we can see what the cost of ordering is. So by default, these three are the most relevant. Safety inventory, not so much, not relevant, if you like, in the equation. So the answer here is A. The next question goes on to say, okay, look, what about cost of ordering? What's going on there? Well, with cost of ordering, like I said, this is the cost of placing the order. So we're talking about the administrative costs involved, the postage costs of getting the stock to us, and certain quality control costs, if you like. So in terms of making sure the stock arrives safely and it's well protected, and just making sure we have the right carrier, things like that. So the first three easily qualify, if you like, as the right things to be thinking about when placing an order. Right, question three. I just put a little PowerPoint together to sort of illustrate what's going on here. Of course, you've read this and done this. You're just using these videos to confirm what's going on here. So the question is really asking you. It's saying, I think the question is asking you, calculate the maximum inventory level. The first thing we need to do when you're doing this, I've just written steps here, is you need to find the reorder level. So the reorder level is fundamentally the level that you pick the phone up, call the supplier to say, listen, I need some more stock. That's the reorder level, right? It's just the level the level to which the stock drops, and you think, okay, now we're now at this level, let's call the supplier, right? And we take a pessimistic approach to defining that level. We assume the worst case scenario. We assume that, listen, we might actually have demand for 800, which is our maximum demand, and that supply might be asleep at the wheel and it'll take too long to arrive. So we therefore ensure that once we have the stock hit a reorder level or a level of 2,400, which is what 800 times 3 is, we call the supplier up. And you can see it says here, it gives you in the question that currently we are ordering 500 units each time. So our stock levels hit 2,400. I'll just put this here, 2,400. Our stock levels hit 2,400, and we call the supplier. And we place an order every time we order for 500 units. Now, the question is asking, calculate the maximum inventory level. So what potential maximum inventory could you end up with in this scenario? Well, here's the issue. Yes, you've been very pessimistic initially about setting your reorder level because we've assumed we might need 800 and times 3 because there might be excessive demand and it might take too long. But the maximum inventory level is almost like saying, well, actually, what could happen is that you might actually just have an order of 500 whilst you're waiting, and the stock might arrive in 1 week. You see where I'm going? So if you now have this scenario, you will have your stock fall just by 500, if you like, from 2,400 to 1,900, and then your new stock arrives of 500. So in an interesting kind of way, this question is slightly weird because you lose 500 due to 500 times 1, which is what we're seeing here, 500 times 1. and then you gain the stock that you ordered because that's also 500. So it exactly literally arrives again back at 2,400, simply because in this case it matches. It doesn't have to. The point here is that you have a reorder level, which you must first calculate, then take off, if you like, the minimum usage, which is what we're really saying. If you only have that order of 500 and the stock arrives in a week, you're suddenly going to be engulfed with all this stock when it arrives, which is what you now have here. So it goes back again to 2,400. So the maximum inventory level you could have, if you like, is 2,000, 2,400. Right. So let's just write that down in on the. Oops, sorry. Oh, here. This is the one. And I do give you some guides when I. Let's just clear all of that. Over here, I sort of say, listen, the first thing you want to do is you want to find the reorder level, which we did find, which was 2,400. How did we find that? We said, well, 800 times 3 weeks. So it might take that long. And then, like I said, we assume a pessimistic position when doing this. And then they want us to find, of course, this maximum potential inventory situation, which I've just done for you, assuming that we only use 500. We get a demand of 500 and the stock arrives in 1 week, so that's 2. And then we have 2,400 minus that, but then the stock arrives because we only placed an order. We regularly only order 500, so we're back at 2,400. The next question says, what is the minimum inventory? It's a bit of a misnomer, this. When it says minimum inventory, what they're really saying here is this. Listen, under normal circumstances, if the worst doesn't happen, what usually happens, right? So what usually happens, right, is that you have a reorder level of 2,400. But on average, what typically happens is that we're just, again, this is just the starting point. We're almost creating the standards, the settings, right? We're saying that what could actually happen is that instead of this assumption that 800, you're going to get a demand of 800 and it's going to take 3 weeks, it is actually the average. We will see an average use of 500 plus 800 over 2, which is 1,300 over 2, which is 650. And we will see a lead time of the average as well, 1 plus 3 over 2, which is equal to 2 weeks. So given this scenario, what we could potentially see is that, yes, your reorder level is 2,400, but before your new stock arrives, what you really truly have is a demand of 650 and an average lead time of 2 weeks. So 2,400 minus 1,300 takes us to, where is my calculator? You probably hear me say that a lot of the time when I'm talking, is 1,100. 1,100. So potentially this could be the minimum inventory. It could actually, in actual sense, be lower, right? Because you could have more demand than 650. It's really an average level, so to speak. But the assumptions are clearly made on this notion of the average. Right? So the answer is 1,100. So what do you do with this one? What you do here is, with calculating the minimum inventory level, it's almost finding that, finding the average and then taking that off the 2,400. Just quickly taking you out of this into this. What we have here is a bit of a chart here. Sometimes this minimum level is referred to as a buffer level. What they're really saying is that here you are when you placed your order for 2,400. Ordinarily, this should go all the way to the ground. But remember, this was only happening here because you were being very pessimistic and saying you were going to be waiting for 3 weeks and you will have 800. But really and truly, they're telling you don't usually wait for 3 weeks. The stock will arrive before then. So how do we know what this bit is? Well, we're just assuming an average. And over time, it will be an average because sometimes it'll be from maybe here and like that. And then sometimes it might be here. So on average, it will smooth out. And that's why we take that average to deduct, so we can get what the potential minimum would be. Potential minimum would be. Okay, great stuff. And that is question 3. Okay, let's do question 4. Now, I did mention in class that what I won't do is do all the questions if they're two that look very much like each other. So what's always good is that if you look at question 4, you will see that it literally is a repeat of question 5. So I'm just going to do question 4, and that will give you a chance to, when you're looking at question 5, to be comfortable. Now, question 4 says plastic. It says the following information is available for the plastic grade. PM7, they want us to calculate the economic order quantity. So we have this formula for finding out the best amount to actually, the actual order to place, the best order to actually place, the actual amount of goods to actually order. And we know that this EOQ is equal to the square root of 2 cod and chips. And what is that? That is the square root of 2 times the cost of ordering. We can see here fixed ordering cost of £3.60. Yes. And then we have the annual demand 112,500 divided by the cost of holding, which is £1.80. Yes. So you put all that together, 2 times £3.60 times 112,500, and then divide that by £1.80 gives you 450,000. And now find the square root of this thing here, and I'm just doing this here to 1 over 2. You have, I get 670.82. So that's equivalent of 671. You can call it 671. So the economic order quantity is to order 671 kilograms. 671 kilograms. That's the first thing. Then you're told to come into this sort of table and really pretty much do a bit of LIFO FIFO work. And they're telling you to place these orders here in terms of you placing these orders, and this is what's coming into the business, if you like, but then you're going to issue to the production team, right? So it's saying take 671 units here, and of course 671 units because that's the agreed order. Seems to be ordering every 4 days. And of course, what is the total cost? This is £2.336. Let's find that very quickly. 671 times 2.336 is 1567. I'm just going to round, keep it down, but again, my rounding might not be as yours. And again, here I have 1572, so I'm just going to round that to 1573. Right. Now the question then says, of course, we want to know what the totals are because this is the balance. So this, whatever's here is really the 198 plus the 671 units, isn't it? So you have 9. 9 plus 7 is 16. You have 869 units. And of course, you have a total cost of this 1567 and the 238. 1567 plus the 238, and you have 1805. All right, I'll just change my pen color here to just deal with the issues. Right, so what we are saying now is that it tells us complete all entries using the FIFO method, for issuing inventory. So what does that mean? That means that out of these 540, 198 of them, yes, I'm sure you'll agree with that, are valued at £238, of course. And now the balance of them, but I mean, I do know the individual units here, as in the individual cost per unit. So the balance of this 540 minus 198 is 342, and the other 342 will be in a 2.336, right? So what am I saying? This 5404 is coming out of this 869. It wants a first in, first out approach. This was there before these kilograms were there before these kilograms, right? these were there before this. So we have to get rid of this first. So let's get rid of it first. So the issue here in this box here, if you like, is, I suppose you could argue, the total cost. Suppose, I mean, they want an average here, which is interesting. It'd be interesting to see what the answers are like if they want us to find the average. But let's find the total. I know that I have I have 198 units at 238, and I have 342 units, and I multiply that by the £2.336 of 799. I'm rounding up a lot tonight. And then you now have, of course, the total cost of these 540 units, of course, of 8 plus 9 is 17, 4, 13, 10. So the total cost, of course, here is 1037. I suppose the cost per kilogram is to divide that 1037 divided by the 540, which technically gives you a figure of 1.92, right? Because I have to just divide the total cost by the units. So if I had 869 units before and I've released 540, then the question here is how many units do I have left? Well, I must have 869 minus 540. Yes, must have 869 minus 540, which is 329 left. Oops, sorry, 329, not 392. 329. And those, of course, will be at the £2.336 level, which is 768.54. Okay, then you bring in another 671. What's nice about this is they're all, oh no, this is different. Of course, another different one. That's fine. Bring in another 671. Add that onto this. So 671 units, kilograms, forgive me, plus the 329 is a perfect 1,000. That's a perfect 1,000 situation here. And I'm just going to add these costs together of 1573 plus 768 plus 5.54. And that takes us to 2341.54. Cool, great stuff. And then you do a final issue here of 710. It's first in, first out. So let's be clear. We have the first 329, yes, 329 at 768.54. And then the balance, because it's 710, isn't it? You've issued the 329 from here. So the balance of that, which would be 710 minus the 329, is 381. And you will have 381 at the £2.344, right? Because that's sort of the point there, isn't it? So 381 times 344 is 893.06. So these two together again is my total, 893.06 plus 768.54 is 1661. 1662. I'll just round up for the sake of it. Just long and winded, isn't it? Long-winded. So the average cost, I suppose, is the 1662 divided by the 710, which is £2.34. So this is £2.34. And finally, what's left, of course, is if you had 1,000 and you've issued 710, we have 290 left, and definitely they'll be at that £2.34, £2.344, because it's first in, first out, right? So we have 290 times 2.344, which is 679.76, or 680, I suppose is the point with that one. Right, so final little question there. The question is sort of asking, if we had been using the LIFO method, what would be the value of this 540 units being issued? Well, these 540 units being issued would have come out of the most recent receipt of goods, wouldn't they? And we received 671, all valued at 2.336. And so therefore, they literally would just be the 540 units at £2.336 because they are just coming out. We would still have these sitting there in stock. These units will still be there in stock because we're using last in, first out. So this is what's just arrived. So the 540 will be coming out of this newly arrived stock. And so 540 at 540 times 2.336 takes us to 1,261.44. And that's if you're using the last in, first out. So please take this example and apply that to question 5. But I will structure this and post it as though I've done question 5. So it'll read as though it'll say question 1 to 5. Question 1 to 5. Okay, thank you.